What do you hate about Reddit? Write in the comments what you think about this. Enjoy the show. Story 1. In many advice subs, people are far more concerned with winning, getting, even being right than with doing the right thing. In real life, doing the right thing usually requires some degree of self-abnegation, but the people here are just drama hounds. Story 2. Lately, the off-the-rails moderatorship in various parts of the site. There's no rhyme or reason for posts being removed, and no accountability on the mods to provide reasons. I suppose you get what you paid for with volunteer mods, but the site wasn't this bad in the past. And of course, it doesn't apply to all subs, of course. Story 3. People are so eager to encourage others to break up with their partners because of a single argument or mistake. My husband and I have been together for 7 years, and he's perfect, except last week he looked at me funny. Divorce him now, he doesn't respect you. Story 4. Remember that one time 3 years ago you commented you don't agree with the majority in some anti-mask sub? That just got you banned permanently from around 50 other subs, 45 of which you never even heard of, because they hate that sub, and you commenting there for any reason is an indictment you support said sub 100%. Story 5. Getting permabanned for one comment that goes against a rule instead of getting a warning or being banned for a few days. Got permabanned from r/furry for mentioning the fact that I'm in a furry server with 2 NSFW chat room without anything explicit. The question was about the nickname people would give to their furry friend group. I should have just left the nickname instead of adding the rest. Now I can't comment anything, and I know they will forget about ever banning me. Story 6. I commented man-child once on some guy throwing a tantrum in a video, and a mod said it was against regulations as a curse. I asked how man-child was a curse or banned word, and whoever got even more mad and threatened to ban me from the page altogether. So I just didn't ask again why. Some mods don't deserve the power to be a mod if man-child was triggering to them. Story 7. The upvote assumes everyone knows everything equally well. This is about as far from reality as physically possible. It is actively bad at lifting valuable discussions to the top, and is only actually good at suppressing profanity or offensive content, which moderation has done reasonably well since the dawn of the internet. So what's the actual point? This basically means that the larger a sub, the more dysfunctional it becomes. Story 8. As a community, I hate when someone says movie sucks, and then it turns out they didn't actually watch the movie but just read Reddit comments. I hate when someone makes a good joke, often in the form of a pun, and then there's a chain of people trying to add to the joke or make another pun, and it gets progressively worse and worse. Really just the echo chamber hive mind in general. As for the app, after Reddit got rid of third-party apps, I've been using the official one, and I hate when it'll suggest subs that spoil things I'm watching. For example, I'm watching How TD, and it'll suggest a post from r/freefolk, or I haven't seen a Marvel movie yet, and it'll suggest a post from r Marveleaks and Rumors. Story 9. Reddit is a wonderfully pseudo-anonymous form of social media. That being said, the echo chamber in subs, prevailing negativity, and lack of empathy for other people, public figures, strangers, is really harmful. It's not as bad as Instagram, and nowhere near as awful as X, but it can bog you down in times of stress. Story 10. How people attack you if you, even in the slightest, criticize a woman or female behavior. It's like on Reddit, people think that all women are innocent angels and all men are horrible devils. You could read about a man robbing a bank and shooting the security guard, and folks will castigate him as a terrible criminal. If a woman commits the exact same crime, then it wasn't her fault, she was confused. You're insensitive for not understanding she had PMS at the time. If her husband took better care of the family, she wouldn't have needed to rob a bank, etc. etc. Excuse after pathetic excuse. For some strange reason on Reddit, the rules of decency apply to men but not to women. They get a pass. I'm hoping someone can explain why that is. Story 11. Anonymity means most Redditors double down over being wrong about something instead of taking the time to process someone else's correction or factual information and learning something for a change. Instead of admitting they're wrong, or conversely, that the other person was right, they either double down or move the goalposts of their original statement. Sometimes they flat out deny what they said, or that it was misconstrued, rather than admit they were wrong. Doesn't even matter if you post links to peer-reviewed studies, experts, whatever. It's double down or move the goalposts 99% of the time. Story 12. Some PPL here are genuinely miserable and will be rude to you over harmless stuff. I once explained that my dad set up my car insurance without discussing it with me, and then PPL started bashing me because I said I was annoyed by what my dad did. Somebody looked through my past post to find out what course I do and my university just to insult both of them. Story 13. People are much more interested in being heard than understanding. I had so many interactions where the other person clearly wasn't reading. They were just mad their idea was confronted. 2. Parasocial behavior. May this is just because as I hang out on some fan Reddits. But wow, you don't know these famous people, you aren't their friends. There is an ulterior motives. You don't know the inner workings or thoughts these people have. 3. Strangely specific echo chambers. Every sub has this one shared opinion that if you dare challenge, will be downvoted to the depths of hell. And often these opinions aren't valuable to discussion or even right. They are just untouchable for no reason. Story 14. If you don't agree with the majority opinion here, you get stomped all over. And the majority here has some odd opinions sometimes. But mostly I hate the mods. As big as this place is, I think it should be mostly a public forum. Individuals have too much control, and I detest seeing stories locked when they are controversial. Controversial topics are the most worthy of discussion, not the least. Echo chambers are horrible. Story 15. A lot of subreddits whose apparent purpose is to help people with basic questions are plagued with gatekeeping. People ask reasonable questions and end up getting lots of snark and not many helpful answers. It wasn't always like this, but it's been getting worse and worse. Story 16. You're a shill because you've only had good experiences with a company and you just wanted to share your opinion on it. Very few people on here can actually debate on a subject. They see it as a personal attack on their character. If you disagree with a highly upvoted post, then you're in for a shitstorm. Most of Reddit is a hive mind. Most of Reddit gives excruciatingly bad advice on sensitive topics. Almost to the point I believe they're purposefully giving the worst advice possible. Story 17. Mods who don't know their subs' own rules, and when you get banned, that's it. Nothing you can do, because the mod doesn't actually have to follow Reddit mod rules set out by admin, and they can be extremely abusive when you appeal. The only reasoning I can think of is Reddit depends on the free labor of mods so that the site can function, so Reddit allows mods to break the rules. You can't even report the specific mod who is breaking the rules because they can hide who they are, so any report you make to Reddit admin is ignored. I can't wait until they bring in paywalled subs ... its. Gonna be really funny when customers bring evidence of mod abuse to court. It's just different right now because we don't pay to use the site. Story 18. The most popular comments being deleted by the ones who posted them. It seems that one decided to make a Reddit account just to answer to a question and then disappear. If you didn't want people to know your thoughts, why did you write that comment to in the first place? Story 19. Mods. Admins will remove comments you make that they don't like for everyone except you. You can't tell you've been silently censored unless you use of the undelete sites to see which of your comments is actually visible to everyone. Discussing any topic with even very, very mild controversy and getting few replies, you're probably being censured. Story 20. At the worst, it's an extremist echo chamber where no one can be trusted. At its best, it's useful info on specific issues you cannot solve on your own. Nothing like looking on Popular and seeing advice animals nonstop, not because they are good memes, but because it's just a political hijacking that feeds into the echo chamber further. Nothing like watching a meme format you used to use get turned into another tool. Story 21, I want more updates. I get all invested in these random people's lives and I want to know how things worked out. Gosh darn it. Did they break up? Did she leave? Who kept the dog? Did the mill ever decide to play nice? I mean, it's not too much ask. Good people have read it. Story 22. Everyone is so goddamn combative about practically everything on this site that it becomes impossible to discuss anything in any meaningful way that isn't a current circle jerk. If I make a post saying, I like pizza, multiple shitbirds flock to the thread to comment, so why do you hate burgers? I made a popular comment the other day in our music about how the entertainment industry as a whole is far too plagued with corruption, sexual abuse, murder, extortion, etc. And there were swaths of people replying to me bitching about how I didn't mention politicians and how I'm shifting the narrative focus. I didn't mention politics because it's a fucking r/music thread, and the entertainment industry is actually relevant to the conversation. Also, I'm sick and fucking tired of not being able to discuss an upcoming video game release if Reddit doesn't approve of the game. I can't say anything positive about an EA/Ubisoft/Paradox/etc. game without the conversation getting throttled by circle jerkers all screaming the same bullet points they heard from a commentary YouTuber/TikToker. And on the flip, I can't provide any criticism to Game Freak/From Software/Koji Pro without more terminally online weirdos coming in to shift goalposts and deflect everything, all while saying the most toxic shit and insulting me at every opportunity they can. Story 23. I realized there were a lot of problems that went with it, but I really missed the days when Reddit was still the Wild West voice of the internet. Back then, when I'd jump on Reddit, it felt like an exciting treat overall. It was still an experience rather than a chore. I realize that isn't profitable, and all one has to do is visit one of the Reddit alternatives for a little perspective. But I just miss going to this site to be amazed, shocked, startled, and even revolted. Instead of a sea of stagnant pre-approved yawns, I have to wade through to find that post or comment that makes me laugh out loud or exclaim or really think about. Story 24, the political biases. Not because I want it to be more pro-Republican/conservative, but because there are a lot of people willing to overlook and ignore corruption on one side of the political spectrum. The corruption is rampant on both sides, but it just takes different forms with different objectives. And if you are going to come at me with the whole one side is clearly more evil than the other side line, you can save it. I get it. You think your team is the good guys, and the team you don't like is responsible for everything that is evil and wrong. Unfortunately, the world is not that convenient or cut and dry. Story 25. The lack of nuance in most conversations, as well as the hive mind mentality associated with it, 9/10 once you get downvoted past a certain point, regardless of the accuracy of what you have said, people will just keep downvoting due to hive mentality. U.S. defaultism, use exceptionalism is a massive issue on many subs. The moderation is generally terrible, especially with comments randomly getting removed by automods. The amount of times I've had to go through comments line by line to figure out what is causing an auto removal, only for it to turn out to be something stupid like the word people. The amount of bots on the site at the moment, mostly pro-Putin and pro-Palestine. The over-cynicism on most of Reddit, especially with anything involving kids. The absurd amounts of circle jerks, anti-religious, anti-American, anti-rich, etc. Even when I strongly agree with them, the circle jerk is tiring and detrimental to intellectual debate. Story 26. The echo chambers. The refusal to look at information objectively, with eyes wide open and with a willingness to follow facts wherever they may lead. If you challenge a religious belief that has been held up as truth, or when you question a scientific concept by its own merits, the result is the same ad hominem attacks. Story 27. The moderation sucks. Every subreddit is someone's private safe space. They've decided you violated their unclear rules. They'll not respond to ban appeals. There is no one higher to appeal to. You're banned automatically because you posted on subs they don't like, even though they have no context. Starting a new account is just going to invite more bans, all of which made worse by drastic shift in 2016. Story 28. Political stuff on non-political subreddits. Kamala's candid pic doesn't need to be out on pics or interesting as fuck subreddit so many times. Same with some anti-Trump agenda. I'm Democrat supporter, but I wish some reforms happened to make this place less political. My mental health would get much better. Story 29. Every political post follows these steps. Something political posted. Liberal comments something terrible, racist, or stupid that they think conservatives would say on the subject. Other liberals comment and get angry at conservatives for that thing the liberal said conservatives would say. Then they proceed to go on about how evil conservatives must be for what the liberal said they would say. Upvotes and awards are given to each other. Repeat. Story 30 many, but if I had to pick three, trolls and arrogant people. So many people will leave comments on a post just to get a reaction or leave some comment that is tangentially related to the post. The number of times I see a respectful and kindly worded post from OP just for them to get slandered by several comments is absurd. It's amazing how many people get a kick out of trying to annoy, hurt, or waste others' time. Politics. There are specific subs for those, although those subs can be hot garbage. However, people still feel a need to drag that garbage out of those subs and dump it in other ones. Echo chambers. There are a lot of reasonable posts and comments made that get inundated with downvotes and hidden away simply because they didn't agree with the echo chamber of that sub. Story 31. That you can spend 1/2 hour writing an informative, thoughtful response that then never gets seen and drops into complete algorithmic obscurity within 24 hours. I mean, and seriously, this site churns through content. It's like looking at stuff through a moving car window. Even if what you see is interesting, it won't be there tomorrow, or rather it will be. You'll just be somewhere else, and it's not like you're going back. Story 32. I get banned every few months, and it's never for absurdly offensive stuff. To clarify, I will get fed up with the political echo chamber that is Reddit and post-offensive bullshit. That being said, I'll end up banned over something incredibly mild like complaining about reposts or telling someone they're wrong about how they're interpreting an art piece or something. Story 33. I'm pretty sure once a topic or comment gets just a handful of up or down votes, people simply start following the trend without reading what it has to say at all. Then if you get hundreds of downvotes, maybe one person will kind of actually explain why they disagree and never respond again. Story 34. Unless you're on a specifically right-leaning sub, Reddit is going to be incredibly left-leaning by default, meaning many subs are not particularly reflective of the real world. I live in Indiana, which just about all of my fellow Americans will be able to identify as a right-leaning, to say the least, place to live. I don't mean that in a good or bad way. It's just a fact. But the Indiana community on here is dominated by the left. It's incredibly misleading. Reddit is not real life, just as the internet in general is not real life. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.